appreciate your time. Have to show the sponsorship slide again. Muchas gracias. Sponsors, thank you. All right, so I've been in product for about 15 years, and I've had different roles along my career. And as I said earlier, someone asked me, I love frameworks. Someone once called me a tool collector, because I love just collecting all these tools and having these frameworks available. But someone asked me, what is the best framework, the most impactful thing a framework that you use that is the most impactful? And I thought about something, it was right here in 2015 when I started to become a product manager. There was a big initiative at the company I was at. The company was going to try to do like an internal startup, and they had a blank check, and it was very sexy, and everyone wanted to be part of it. And I remember like hearing about it, I was like, okay. But 8 months went by, and a manager that I had worked with in the past came to me and said that they need some help, and they thought that I could come in and help and lead the team because of my experience with Agile. And knowing Agile well, and the team desperately wanted that. So I said, okay, yep, and I kind of observed some things, some like kind of Agile things that were fixable, and I thought I could get the team back on track. And then I attended the first stand-up. And the first stand-up, it was nuts. Number one, they had an engineering team, like, they kept telling the business would keep asking stuff for the launch. We need to get this in there, and the tech team would come back. We don't have the resources to do that. To do it, and so because they had a blank check, they're like, hire more resources. So now you had a team like 22 engineers, and there's like and they had lots of work in progress, but zero done. Nothing was working. It was now November when they were supposed to have the app done. There were two major pieces to this business, a car and a mobile app. And the mobile app was nothing. It was nothing, and nothing worked. And it was November, and they were supposed to be done. And so they were feeling all this pressure. I came to this stand-up, I heard, F you, it's your problem, your fault. So one of the things I knew, like there were some mechanical things about the backlog, the roadmap, focus, and things like that to fix, but I knew like it would be nothing if we don't fix this. And I don't know if you've been on a team like this, and you know like the no asshole rule, like been on a team where there's someone super smart, but they're just an asshole, and you can't work with them. And really when it comes down to it, it's a net zero, right? If you can't agree to something to work on and move forward, you get nowhere. So it doesn't matter how smart you are. So that's something I figured out in my previous stints on teams. And one thing that you should know about me is I actually switched careers. Before this, I was in athletics. I used to play sports, I was a coach, I was a teacher, and I remember like starting to get in tech. I lived in Silicon Valley, and so like that kind of everyone was around me. I was like, I'm gonna switch careers. And I remember feeling sad about like I put so much effort into learning to be a good coach, and now I'm like just kind of giving that up. What I quickly found out is that product is a team sport. It really is. You need to get a group of people together to accomplish an outcome. And you know, Marty Kagan calls this the product trinity, I think. Usually these are like key people on our product team. There could be more. You could have program managers, QA testers, architects, data scientists. But the idea is that there are different functions across, and if you can't get these functions together, no one function can win. No one function can make your product successful. It has to be a collaborative effort. So I had borrowed on the teams I was at previously a lot of frameworks and things I did as a coach to try to build teams. And I would read a lot of books. Again, I said as a collector even back then, I would read a lot of coaching books. Basketball was my sport. There was one book right there, and gosh, it's hard to see, but it's by a coach, the coach of Duke. He's now retired. His name is Mike Krzyzewski. He's the winningest basketball coach in history. He's been to a dozen conference championship, a dozen Final Fours, won 5 national championships. And then also he's won 3 gold medals coaching the men's basketball team for the United States. And just to give a little history, in 2004, the men's basketball team lost. They got the silver medal, and that was like a big deal. We had professionals. And he came in and turned that program around, and he won in 2008. He was known for being able to do that. So he had this concept in the book that I really like called fist. And this is what I always taught my teams when I was coaching. And then, can we make it dark?
I turned them all off. Unfortunately, I don't hear that the front lights go off.
He has this concept called the fist.
I know, that's good. Woohoo!
He has this concept called the fist, and I was using this on my teams, and then I started using them on my product teams, the teams I was on, and it worked very well. And this was the key thing that I used to turn around that toxic situation I was in. So this is Mike Krzyzewski. I think this is something, he has a master class. You guys do that on leadership. He was a coach at Duke. He gives a lot of talks at the Fuquay School of Business there. So like a lot of the business there, like he gives a lot of talks on that, just how to be a big leadership and whatnot. But he has this concept, and here's what it is.
I use the analogy of a fist. 5 fingers, 5 guys playing, okay? It doesn't make any difference how strong or how good you are. If you punch like this, you might hurt somebody, but you're gonna hurt yourself. Or if I only have 3 fingers together. And so basically, if you are value-based, the values that you have bring the 5 people together to form a fist. And those values are communication. We look each other in the eye, we tell each other the truth all the time. The second one is trust. I value your word and I believe you in an instant. The third one is care. I got your back. Go for it. I got your back. Don't hesitate, man. I'm with you all the way. The fourth one is collective responsibility. When we win, kumbaya, man. We're all winning together. But when we lose, don't point a finger, because then you're not going to have a fist. We win and we lose together. That's collective responsibility. And you do not win all the time. And the fifth one is pride. I want everyone to have the pride of belonging to something bigger than themselves. I think every person would like to have that.
So this is something like over the years I would put this in, and I thought deeply about it. I mean, there's lots of books on team building, like 5 dysfunctions of a team and stuff, and there's a lot of overlap with this thing, but I really found if you can optimize these 5 things, you have a healthy team that's going to be able to achieve outcomes. I put this up here, and really, one of the things I hate is a handoff culture. Like they do their work, then they hand it off, and they go off. And actually, the way this should work is a collaborative Venn diagram process, because with every discipline there's overlap, and there's a chance to collaborate. And at the center of the Venn diagram is the team and the outcome you're trying to accomplish. Something that I really hold in product, this is from Shreyas Doshi, I really like this, but he talks about there's 3 types of thinking, companies, product thinking, project thinking, political thinking. And it's like, what would you like to prioritize? What should be first? I mean, like if your company's wanting to win and make an impact, that should be where the focus is, not optimizing for execution or optics or whatever. Not that those things aren't important, but what product management is to me is creating impact. Okay, so here are these things. You could give a whole presentation on all of these, but I'll just go on like really quickly, just some of the main points of each. Here's the thing with communication. Number 1, you have to do it. You have to communicate. And one of the things that I've seen on teams is that are not communicating. And you'll see in basketball, especially, if your coach is telling the players to talk. If you ever person on the sideline, they're calling out, screen to your left, cut here or whatever. They're reading the defense and they're reading the offense and they're reacting and they're talking to each other. And it's the same thing on a product team. You guys have to talk, and it's funny how often we just go silent, right? We don't reply, we don't communicate. The other thing to know about communication is that there's two parties involved. There's a sender and a receiver. And as a receiver, you have a job to do. It's not just the sender that's communicating. It's your job to give acknowledgement and give feedback. And essentially communication is, there's a knowledge gap between, right? And that what you're trying to do is, a sender and a receiver, you're trying to narrow that knowledge gap and have shared understanding of what you're trying to do. The other thing is, we are not that far evolved. It's been in the history of time, we have very quickly rose to this, and we still have these Neanderthal brains that when things happen, when we're being chased by a bear or a village is getting attacked, we go into fight, or freeze.
Yes.
And in a modern world, we do that at work. Because if you think about it, our work is what gives us our money to be safe and have food, and then so if you feel like that's being threatened, you're going to instantly go to this reactive part of your brain, this Neanderthal brain, and you're not going to think logically. And so when you're communicating with people, there's something you have to understand about doing that. And I think this came from Harvard. I meant to look this up, but I got this thing that I think is really good called SCARF. And it's that when these things get triggered, people get out of their logic brain and go back into their Neanderthal brain. They go into their animal brain with just instincts. And it's when your status gets triggered, your certainty, when things get uncertain, autonomy, relatedness to the group, and fairness. So when you're communicating, it's very helpful to know, one, how am I positioning this? Is it threatening these things with people? Number two, if you're getting scarfed, I can't tell you how helpful it is just okay, why am I getting nervous? Why am I scarfed? Oh, it's because this is uncertain. This is an uncertain situation. And just doing that kind of mapping, it helps bring me out of that reactive mode. All right, number two, trust. If you read 5 Dysfunctions of the Team, I'll give you kind of the summary of it. The big dysfunction is trust. And when I see teams that are toxic and not working together, it's almost 99% trust. It's a trust issue. They don't trust the other person. They don't trust if I give them this information, how will they react? If I say this, will it make me look bad? It's not having trust. So trust, probably the biggest one. But I have it at number 2 because so much of trust comes from communicating. You need to communicate. And just going back to that sender and receiver, one of the things that I'm really big on is giving a 10-4, what I call so if someone sends you a message, just give them, got it, and how helpful that is. I mean, there have been so many times I've sent messages, and get it? Are they gonna do it? And they're what is that? But just giving that 10-4 and that feedback, yes, got it, is so helpful.
Especially if you have kids. They're just
And I got a toddler. She's
oh, you're doing it.
Have you seen the Where's Jessica thing? It works. So toddlers having a tantrum, just go, Jessica, where are you? And it breaks them. Really good, look it up. It's really fun, but it totally works. So we're okay, one thing about trust is that it's easy to break. It must be something that gets proven, and if you break it, then you have a lot of work to do. In this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, I think it says something like, you have to give 5 positives to someone before you give them a negative. And so think about if you meet someone and then they just start ripping you, you're gonna think okay, I don't trust you, you're up to something, what are you doing? And so you have to invest in building up positive comments, supporting, And then when you do get a negative comment, it's going to hit so much because they're going to think like, oh, this guy has a history of being supportive with me, and he's giving me this thing that I need to fix or do better. It makes sense because I trust this person. They've established that they're in my corner. Okay, the third one is care. So there was a company I worked with called Pivotal Software, and I loved the way they did product management. And they had two values: trust and empathy. And so I almost think of care. I mean, you can almost replace it with empathy, but you have to have care for the other people around. You have to empathize. When you're writing requirements, you have to think about how the engineers are going to interpret that, and vice versa across all the different functions. I can't tell you how helpful it is to get to know each other. I was on a daily stand-up with these engineers. They would start the stand-up with like a quick question, like an icebreaker question, like, what did you think of the game last night? Or who do you think is going to win tonight? And you just I can't tell you how much fun that was. And it was very quick, and it brought us together. I would learn something about the other person, and it just, when things got tough, it made us, we were together and we were stronger, right? Because we had built that trust and we had empathy for the other person, and we knew them a little bit. And then camaraderie. If you read what I put in there, there's the Netflix founder, he said like, there's a push of, 10, 15 years ago, like, oh, be like a family, you have a family. And he's like saying, no, your work is not like your family. You don't have unconditional love. People operate like a sports team. But if you look at the best sports teams, they have camaraderie, right? Like they get together, they win a championship, they're still friends. They have camaraderie. And my favorite teams I've worked on, I'm still friends with those people. That was 10 years ago, and we had great camaraderie. Fourth one, and this is my favorite, collective responsibility. We've been together and we lose together. We are a team. There ain't no Scrum. There's a framework. Does anyone actually know what does Scrum, like outside of the framework, what that is? It comes from rugby. Yeah.
Yeah, I should say rugby.
Yeah. So it comes from rugby, and the idea. And there's a great book by Jeff Sutherland, the founder of Scrum, and it's called Double the Work in Half the Time or something. But he talks about the reason why he called it Scrum is because the idea was that when you come in, the team, you're locking arms, and you're going to work together and sync to get something done, to create impact. And that's the whole idea of the systems, that is to Scrum. And that's collective responsibility. The thing that I always ask is, it is a little bit different. You've got the engineering team, and you've got the product manager, but I always ask, what can I do if there's something? There are times where we need to get something out, and we're behind in QA testing, so I would start doing QA testing and do whatever I needed. I knew how to code a little bit, so I could do some front-end development if I needed to. But I was always asking, what can I do? How can I, if the engineers didn't understand the acceptance criteria that I did, I would think, why did they not understand? They need to, they're idiots, they're not thinking straight. I would think, what can I do to make it better? So much of this is dependent on priorities and focus. And the product manager, you can set the priorities and set the focus for the team so the team knows what to scrum around. I really like this concept of, we got a user story, that's the highest priority, and there's something going wrong, and the team swarms around it. So swarming, I really like that concept. This is one of the biggest things, and this is really meaningful to me, but being an energy giver. So my coach would talk about this, and I just happened to find this article on USA Basketball. And what it says is, and of course this is a basketball concept, but here's what this article said. Every time you interact with another human being, you either give them energy, fill their bucket, or you take their energy, drain their bucket. In every instance, you are either an energy giver or an energy taker. If you want to be successful in life, you need to not only be an energy giver, you need to surround yourself with energy givers. Energy givers make those around them better. 9 out of 10 people adamantly admit that they are more productive when they are around positive people, energy givers. It's pretty simple. Every member of your program is an energy giver during a workout. The workout becomes more intense and more productive, and eventually, you make progress as a team. Not everyone can be 7 feet tall, but not everyone can jump out of the gym, but everyone can be an energy giver. Being an energy giver is a conscious choice. It's an aptitude. And I think that's something that we can all do. I want to recognize Max over there because he's like the biggest energy giver. He is so positive. We work a little bit together, but I can tell you, every project we're working on, it's not only it's exciting, it's fun, it's this, he brings a lot of energy. He's probably the example of an energy giver. The other thing to think about being an energy giver is Scar, what if you, instead of attacking someone's status, you gave them status, you gave them a compliment. And one of the things that, uncertainty always scares people, but you can always make the situation we don't know how this is going to turn out, but we got up to we're going to do this, we're going to find this answer out on this day, and whatever, and you can make the situation certain, and that gives people energy. But if you give scarf, not attack it, that's being an energy giver. And I love this what he said, and this is what I think. You blend and lose together, and you're not going to win all the time. There's so many ups and downs in creating a product, getting something done. Okay, and the last one, as we're being close on time, is pride. And this is the idea that we do better work when we're acting like missionaries and not like mercenaries. If we're just here to get a paycheck, you don't understand why we're working, you don't care, and you just write your code and leave, you do worse work than if you are actually invested, there's an outcome you're a part of. So as a PM, sign extending, start with why, but always make sure to explain. I was chatting with a friend of mine who's a PM at Airbnb, and they said that to all the they'll ask the engineers and what they're working on, and if they can't tell you why they're working on it, what's the impact, they get reprimanded. They have to understand the why behind it. The other thing is rally around the why, and then show the outcomes and make them a part of it. I was in my product ops role that I'm in right now, I was talking to an engineering team, and they said, yeah, the PMs, they give us stuff to work on. We didn't know, we were supposed to help something, did it help? I don't know. And they talk about, I'd like to know that. And just think about how much better work you do when you have purpose behind it, and you're invested in it. And then finally, this is all about being a product team. And this is my definition, but I think a product team is not a group of product managers, but it's a cross-functional team that's collaborative, aligned, mission-driven in the development of a product. Okay, so that's it. How do you do this? This is tough, you're just one person. So one thing is, if you're a product manager, you're in default a leader. You're a leader, and it's not like a manager or a boss, right? But you're leading the direction. So if you set the tone, others will follow. You are in default in a leadership position if you're in product. And the other thing is be the change. So when I got in there, I didn't start saying, I don't know, after the first stand-up start, hey guys, be the fist and blah, blah, blah. I looked for the opportune moments, but what I did right away was I exemplified them, I communicated, and it starts to spread. And then the other thing is you can have value-based discussions. So I was looking for rhythms, every quarter we might do a gut check on where we're at and stuff. Those are times where you can have these value-based discussions. And I eventually did that. When I built trust and I felt it was the right time. We talked about those things and aligned around it. One of the things to help align around it is, look for the opportune times. There's a concept called the golden mean. It comes from Aristotle. He's all about virtues, and he's saying that a virtuous action comes from the middle between efficiency and excess. So there is a point where you communicate too much, right? But you also don't want to not communicate, right? And so what we would do is I had them do little exercises where they said, what would it look like if we communicate too much? What does it look like if we don't communicate? And then what would it look like if we did it well? how the things change. And that always helped align people. And it worked. I got back to them. We eventually did that. Results, we ended up launching in January, got it out the door. We got into what I call rhythm and flow, which is just we have the ideas, we take ideas, outcomes that we need to accomplish in our strategy, and align around it, come up with ideas, plan it, get it done, launch it, get feedback, iterate it, and we just got into a rhythm and flow. We eventually started getting into daily releases. Like that rhythm and flow was so good. And then over the 4 years, we got to active 400K active users. We're in major cities. We had 6 different product lines, and we achieved $100 million in revenue for those 4 years. There's a lot more I think. This is too long, but I will just stop. But this is a really great, Steve Jobs, he's talking about the importance of building a team. He's asked, like, what's most important about building a good product? And the thing he went to is building the right team, or building a team that was supportive. Okay. That's it. Any questions? One thing, please connect with me on LinkedIn if you want these slides or any content from this. I'd be happy to give it to you there. Also, like, if you have anything, like, how to do build trust better, I'd love to hear it. So if you have any ideas, please send it to me. Any questions or comments?
Just a quick comment, right? Especially when you're an energy giver and you're out there and everything, you have to really be aware of what the culture of your organization and company is. Because sometimes the things you do within your team that are these things are great, but then you clash into a very bureaucratic, political system, a system that does not compensate by collective responsibility, but by individual heroism or whatever. And so I'm just saying, you have to be aware.
Yeah.
Because that can be painful to you and other people if there's a lack of awareness.
Yes, and I have a whole nother story about, like, I got the product team working well, but the business was even more a mess. I went to like a roadmap review with all the VPs, and they were doing the same thing. They were saying, FUs and stuff, and they were talking. And it took a lot of time to align with them. And when we finally did that, we had finally aligned with them, we made a lot of impact. It's like a whole nother story, but there's a difference between the team and the company, right? The team that's I think that's it. Yep, that's it in time.